Hi folks, Simon here. Welcome to another DJI Mini 3 Pro video. So DJI have just put out a brand new firmware update for this device. This is update 0150 and it has a number of changes listed. First of all, they have now added support for Japanese RID requirements. Secondly, there is, or rather they have optimized the quick transfer functionality so that it can now work in low power state. And I do know that a number of people have been having issues with the quick transfer functionality with this drone. So with this latest firmware, if you were one of those that were having issues, have those issues now been resolved? Please do let us know. And interestingly, the update lists that there has been optimizations to the image transmission. And I have been getting a little bit of jerkiness from time to time to my RC device, even when the drone is not all that far away. So I will be interested when testing out this drone in flight if any of those issues reoccur. And there is this very general note that some minor bugs have also been squished. As always, we don't get very specific update notes from DJI, but we're going to put things to the test and see how the drone itself flies. Now, it's also worth noting that along with this new firmware update, there has been an app update. So the DJI Fly app is now version 1.6.6. And what's interesting about this particular app update is that it has also been pushed to the RC controller. So the previous app updates were not pushed to the controller. So whilst iPhones and Android devices were running 1.6.5, the controller was still stuck on 1.6.1, but now everything is up to date across the board. So with that said and done, let's get outside and see what difference the flight makes with the firmware update. So here we are outside, looking forward to really pushing this firmware through its paces and seeing if there are any notable changes, improvements maybe, to the flight experience with the Mini 3 Pro. Here on what is a bit of a chilly day, I've got to be honest with you, in the UK. Quite remarkable, in fact, because for the first part of this week up until Friday, we had a bit of a heat wave. It was really, really hot. On Friday in particular, it was uncomfortably hot, but literally the following day, and it's like, you know, the weather was never warm at all. It's really strange how things happen, isn't it? But let's go ahead now and get the drone into the air as we get our connection set up. So let's do the important stuff of starting the screen recording here. I would love for the ability to record the controller screen, the RC screen, in 1080p, especially because I'm trying to upload these videos in 4K and the 720p feed on these devices is just not great at all, I'll be honest with you. So we've got 5 satellites. Let's see how long it takes to get the minimum, which I like to see as 12 before taking off. And of course, that notification that the home point has been updated. There we go. Oh, sneezy, sneezy. It's hay fever season. Of course it is. I don't know about the Mini 3 Pro, but hopefully I'm going to get through this particular flight in one piece. Right, let's go ahead and actually before... Oh, what's this? Check propeller installation. Okay, I think it's because we've updated the firmware, it sort of resets things back to the default value. So let's just briefly check our settings here. Okay, this is one of the changes with the firmware. To ensure the quality of the image transmission signal, Wi-Fi and Bluetooth have been automatically turned off. If you need to use it, please turn it on manually. Right, so I believe if we want to do quick transfer, we'll need to re-enable that. But the image transmission has to do with the image you're receiving from the drone's camera to your RC controller here. So we're currently in normal mode, and I do have autofocus enabled. There was a bug, a kind of annoying bug, where autofocus would constantly be switching over to manual focus, and if you're anything like me, this is something you would regularly forget about until you manage to get your videos or photos into the editing room or on your computer, and then you realised, oh drat, you know, it's not in focus, which is sometimes hard to see on the screen. but at least that's been fixed. Okay, so let's gain some height here. One thing I really appreciate with DJI's drones is the accuracy of the GPS lock. I really do. And I mention that because I've been flying some non-DJI drones lately, and they are so much more difficult to control. They just swing all over the place. You really have to compensate with the actual controls, and you just take that for granted with DJI's drones because they just get a fixed position, and they, apart from in strong winds, they just do not move. And it just makes flying such a much more comfortable experience. It really does. I never realised until flying some non-DJI drones that were a little bit cheaper, just what a difference that makes. It really does. Right, so I've reached a distance of 340 metres, and I still have a good signal transmission. Now, that might not sound remarkable to you guys at 340 metres distance, but I have been having issues. You've been watching my videos, you will be aware of that. I've been having several issues with transmission over the last few firmware updates. In fact, for all of the firmware updates with my Mini 3 Pro, but also with the Mini 2. So if that's been fixed, I will be very happy indeed. Let's see if we can push things a little bit further, shall we? I mean, this is a very low interference area, obviously. There's only trees, there's no Wi-Fi signals outside of people that are walking with phones and stuff. And even they are few and far between. Wow, I am impressed. So 500 metres, and I did just get a little bit of signal drop out, but I've not had any loss to the image, which is really encouraging, because that is one of the issues that the firmware has claimed to have fixed. So yeah, I've been getting a pretty solid image so far. Something that is being experimented with, I wouldn't expect it anytime soon, but I'll just fly around and mention this. The Civil Aviation Authority, that's the body that regulates drone use and aircraft use here in the UK, is currently experimenting with BVLOS, which is Beyond Visual Line of Sight, and that is where you trust more in your instruments than you do in your own eyes. Now, I'm not saying this is coming to us as public or as hobbyist drone users anytime soon, but it is something they are looking at for various bodies and organisations that are trialling this out, and it is very possible that at some point in the future there may be other categories under which we can choose to fly where our drone goes beyond our visual line of sight. Now, as I say, that will not be for a while. It is currently something they are experimenting with to see how it can be done safely. But for those that like to do all these kinds of range tests and all of that stuff, and feel that perhaps over rural areas such as this, where there's very little danger to the public, that some of the drone laws are currently a little too restrictive, then, well, that should probably be quite exciting for you. Right then, okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and take some shots here, since we are in the sky. Let's pop it into cine mode and see if we can get some nice footage. Some 4K footage here, 4K 30 FPS. I would love the 4K 60 FPS mode to be available in the various follow modes on this drone, because you could slow those down in post-production to 30 FPS and get some really awesome cinematic shots there. I mean, you still can, of course, with the 60 FPS mode, even as the drone is, but you just can't use it on follow me or anything. Yeah, what do you think of the quality of the video that's been produced here by the DJI Mini 3? I really do think it is a step up over the Mini 2, and the Mini 2 is also fantastic for such a small device. In fact, for both of these devices, they are so small, and yet the amount of technology that's crammed into them is utterly amazing to me. It really is incredible. Well, let's stop this recording for now, and maybe just take a few pictures. I do just like to, you know, run these drones through their paces after various updates and stuff. I'm going to go ahead and take a 48 megapixel image. This is something I've not really tested out on the Mini 3 Pro. So it should give us a lot more pixels and maybe just a crisper image. In fact, I'm going to do a comparison shot. So let's go for a standard photo first with just the standard settings here. Can I see a subject that's worth capturing? No, not really, if I'm honest. It's so boring around here, but it is what it is. So let's go ahead and take a photo here of the housing estate. How exciting. It's only for comparison purposes, really. And now if we go to the 48 megapixel option and take a photo from the exact same location. Yeah, does that look any better to you guys? In fact, what we can also do is zoom in. Now, there is a zoom. Oh, but how interesting. The zoom is only available on the non-48 megapixel option. Okay. So, I'm not going to take a photo, but, you know, we can tap in to zoom to 2x there. It is only digital zoom, so you are only getting half the pixels. It's not an optical zoom, but it's interesting that's not available on the higher resolution image. I wonder if we can do a manual zoom. Let me go back to 48MP. Nope, it's not allowing me to do that either. Okay, so that feature, the zoom feature, is just disabled there. I'm not too fussed, to be honest with you. I rarely use the zoom feature anyway. But I've got to say, this has been a very smooth flight. It's not exactly wind-free, and yet we're not getting spammed with wind warnings, despite being at 73 metres. You know? When I first flew the Mini 3 Pro, even when it felt like there was no wind at all, I was constantly being spammed with those kinds of warnings. Let's just tap it back into normal mode. So this is where people will park if they want to go on walks in those trees or through the wood area that you've just seen. And I do tend to get some signal interference around here normally. But as of right now, that is not the case. If we follow this road down a touch, yep. The last time I flew and followed down this road to about 400 metres, I lost connection completely and had to rely on the Mini 3 Pro's return to home feature. But I tell you what, that is just not happening right now. I dropped a bar then, but to be honest, I am actually noticing a vast improvement here with how the Mini 3 is flying. I've got to be honest with you. Yeah, I'm liking it. I mean, I know it's only kind of circumstantial right now because this is the first flight on the update, but I've been having just so many various connection issues recently that this is by far and away the best flight I've done for a while. I don't think I've had any picture dropouts. Maybe I had a bit of stuttering when I wasn't watching the screen and I was speaking to you guys, but I don't even know if I've had that, to tell you the truth. But yeah, we're down to 40%, 39% battery, 17 minutes into the flight. So just heading over the fields here. And it looks like I'm getting a little bit more interference over these parts, although I am now looking at trees. So I would expect some interference here because these trees are going to interfere with the line of sight between the drone and the controller. And I can know that for a fact because the drone has actually gone out of my visual line of sight, which means the trees are blocking it. So if we turn around, yeah, we are losing a little bit of connection there. But as I say, that's to be expected when there are objects blocking the actual line of sight connection between the two devices. But that's coming right back now. And there she is. Now that we've got that connection back again, or now that we've got that line of sight back again, the actual connection itself is very strong and stable. Okay, so we've got 31% battery here. Just drop back down again to about 70 metres. Or about 70 meters, I think. I'm not going to do a full urban test here, but we'll push it over some of these residential properties just to see how it handles that. And at 200 metres away, flying over that section of houses, it's doing a grand job. It really is. Look at that. We had one dropped bar there, but that was not too bad at all. So I'm going to bring it back now. Like I said, I'm not doing a full urban test. I might do a full urban test at some point with the Mini 3 Pro because I've not done one yet. But honestly, for today, I'm very, very happy. There's always a lot of debate about whether or not you should update your firmware on these devices, on these DJI drones. Now, a lot of YouTubers will recommend that you don't do that. If it's not broken, don't fix it type of thing, especially because it has been known, let's be honest, that some of these firmware updates tend to make things worse in some areas and in some categories. But DJI, it is worth noting, do officially recommend that when there is a new Fly app update, when there is a new firmware update, that you do proceed to update. So obviously it's entirely up to you guys. I will always do the updates at the very least so I can test them out for these YouTube videos, and hopefully you guys will be able to make a more informed decision yourself whether you want to take the risk or not. But I'm going to go ahead now and land. We're down to, 21% after a flight time of about 22 minutes. All right then folks, well hopefully you've enjoyed this video update just showcasing the latest app version 1.6.6 as well as the latest firmware update for the DJI Mini 3 Pro. And are you going to upgrade, or rather update, to these latest versions, or are you happy with the versions you're currently running? Because personally I think I have noticed somewhat of an improvement here. But obviously please do, as always, share your own thoughts and your own experiences down in the comments. And for future DJI Mini 3 Pro and Mini 2 content, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I do have a lot planned for you guys going forward. Appreciate all the support you've been showing me with these videos. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.